Your stepmother is the one who took your mother's life. Those words stopped me in the middle of a crowded market. The woman standing in front of me was my Aunt Marcia, the same aunt who had spent years in prison for my mother's demise. I stared at her in disbelief. "Get away from me." Tears filled her eyes. "Please, Kalilah, just hear me out." I turned and walked away, but she kept appearing everywhere, outside my university, near my apartment, at restaurants, always watching, always waiting. Finally, I confronted her. "What do you want from me?" "The truth," she said, and then she told me a story that turned my world upside down. My name is Kalilah. When I was 8 years old, my mother's car plunged off Flat Bridge into the river below. Neither she nor her chauffeur survived. A few months later, police arrested my favorite aunt. Everyone said she had sabotaged the car. Everyone said she was guilty. I cried for weeks as she was taken away in handcuffs. Then my father married one of our maids. Her name was Claudette. She had comforted him after my mother's death. She cooked for him, cared for him, and slowly took over our household. Within a year, she became his wife. That was when my nightmare began. The sweet woman everyone admired disappeared. She insulted me, blamed me for everything, and treated me like a servant in my own home. Meanwhile, my father seemed blind to it all. When my mother passed, part of him left too. He buried himself in work and grief and never saw what was happening right in front of him. Books became my escape. I spent years dreaming of a better life. At 16, I left for Kingston. I worked every job I could find, put myself through university, earned my doctorate, and eventually became a respected professor. For the first time in years, I was happy. Then, Aunt Marcia returned. According to her, Claudette had wanted my father's wealth for years. She claimed Claudette had cut my mother's brake lines, framed her for the crime, and stole my mother's life. It sounded crazy, but it also sounded possible. Together, we hired a private investigator. What he found was terrifying. Claudette had been stealing millions from my father's company for years with help from a crooked accountant. She was secretly seeing several younger men, and then came the discovery that changed everything. The investigator recorded a conversation between Claudette and one of her daughters. Laughing, Claudette said she hoped Aunt Marcia never discovered who had really cut the brake lines all those years ago. I felt sick. My aunt burst into tears. She had spent years in prison for a crime she didn't commit. We immediately went to the police. Within hours, Claudette was arrested. The recording reopened my mother's case. Investigators uncovered more evidence. Witnesses came forward. One lie after another collapsed. Eventually, Claudette was convicted. When my father learned the truth, he completely broke down. He came to see me and cried harder than I had ever seen. He apologized for not protecting me, for missing the signs, for letting grief blind him. For the first time since my mother left us, we truly spoke as father and daughter. The stolen money was recovered. The company removed every dishonest employee involved in the scheme. Under my father's leadership, the business grew into one of Jamaica's most respected real estate companies. To honor my mother's memory, affordable housing projects were built across the island, and scholarships were created for students who could not afford university. Most importantly, Aunt Marcia's name was finally cleared. Years later, my father remarried a wonderful woman he had known since childhood. She was kind, honest, and everything Claudette was not. For the first time in decades, our family finally knew peace. But I still remember standing in that market, hearing the words that changed everything. Your stepmother took your mother's life. As unbelievable as it sounded, it was the truth. And the truth saved us all. Moral of the story: lies can hide for years, but the truth has a way of rising to the surface. No matter how powerful evil seems, it cannot outrun justice forever.